Hello guys, so it's your instructor Mr. Bowie. Welcome to the Amazon class for full stack web development. So here today I'm talking to you guys about what is JavaScript. So our first taste of programming. Unlike CSS and HTML, which are markup language, JavaScript is a programming language. JavaScript can do two things such as 2 plus 2, tell if a statement is true or false, or repeat a set of commands over and over again until a task is complete. The goal of all programming languages is to process data. A language accepts inputs, changes it, and creates output. So JavaScript is one of the most widely used programming languages in the world and dominates the front end of the web development. Every web browser has a built-in engine for processing JavaScript code. So JavaScript is becoming more popular on the back end due to the new technologies like Node.js. However, JavaScript is still primarily used in the front end and much less on the back end. In our full stack, we'll use JavaScript in the browsers and C# ASP.NET on the back end. So you guys would know that, front end and back end, welcome to the world of JavaScript. It's gonna be a lot of concepts, fundamentals, and you guys are gonna learn a lot about the scientific part of JavaScript. So now what do I mean by that? So first things first, that you guys gotta be really good with your mathematical know a lot of key points, know a lot about physics, know a lot about space, time, continuum. So let's jump in a little bit more. JavaScript let us do three things in the web browser: change the style and content of the page and respond to users' actions, send data to and from the web servers in the background without reloading the page, implement features in our web app and makes the web browser responsible for those features instead of the web servers. This is called client-side programming. So, here you guys want to just go check out this website called You Might Not Need JS. And it tells you guys a little bit more JavaScript, the UIs with the additional dependencies, HTML from CSS, a lot of good examples. So that's a little bit more. Let's dive in a little bit. The second part, which is a lot of people think Java is the same thing as JavaScript. They do have the Java in there, but mostly they're going to be two separate programs. So every program has their separate type of programmer. So the founders, the creators that created the program, those are the people that's going to be making the program. So they sometimes you might have a similar name. So let's call it JS. It's a very fast way. If I'm gonna talk about JS, you guys will automatically know that it's gonna be called JavaScript. Here it just talks about a little bit more about other languages such as PHP, C# can use as a backend web server. In this course, we'll use C# as our tech stack. C# is one of the best tech stacks out there. I believe so. And then ASP.NET is kind of a little bit more Microsoft low-level language, but it can still get a lot of programming things done. But C# is a very high-level language, just to the fact that it's pretty new. So if you're wondering why we end up with a confusion, let's blame the marketing team at Sun Microsystem. So if you guys want to do a little bit more reading about further in depth of the history of JavaScript, go ahead and do that. So here, Java versus JavaScript, what's the differences? And then you guys would definitely know that there's some different type of key important factors that are different from here. So we're going to use this thing called script tag. So here, where JavaScript is placed on the web page, the HTML tag holds JS code that will run in the browser. So JS can be written directly in the HTML file inside the script tag or saved in a separate JS file. When saving the script in a separate file, the script tag will point to the location of the script file. So here you will have your internal JS embedded in the HTML. So inside here you will just have your your code. And from there, this is what you're going to call your first thing: document.get element by ID demo.enter HTML hello world. And then this is going to be a code for external JS script linked to HTML. So here you're going to have, go ahead and put this in your head section: script source dot equal to my script dot whatever file that you name your JS, and end it with your tag. And see, The tag may be used in either the head or body of the HTML. When placing a script in the body, it's best to practice to place on the bottom of the body to allow all the other HTML elements to load before running JavaScript. So JS will execute one line at a time from the top to the bottom until the script reaches to the end. So another way to simplify this is that it loads the content and all the interfaces very quickly. So key term to script. Here, let's go jump into w3schools.com, and you guys will start to see examples of why we call it JavaScript. So you're using the script tag, and here you're just gonna get document.getElementID demo, and you get like a lot of good examples here, and it's always best to go ahead and side by side with another IDE such as VS Code, and go ahead and copy it word for word and kind of study what's it's pertaining to. So here, this always starts off with a doc type HTML. Same thing with JavaScript. You start to see what's JavaScript kind of more has their foundation first coming into. So here we're going to talk about JS variables, constants, and data types. So here, programming languages are all about processing data. When you create a variable in JavaScript, you are creating a placeholder in computer memory that stores data. You can assign a value into the variable and then change that value anytime while the script is running. JavaScript's variables are created by using either the keyword var or the keyword let. Variables declare what the variable will behave differently when declared with let. And you will start to see that let would kind of be a more understanding variable when you have a keyword that's like don't want to be redeclared. So we will cover the difference when we review code or scope. Keywords in JS are always lowercase, and JS is case sensitive. So dynamically typed variables in JavaScript is dynamically typed. This means that you don't always have to tell JavaScript what kind of work you're working with. JS just knows, for example, some variable equals 5. So you're going to declare that this is 5, and then this is also you're going to declare that this is some text inside a string. So JavaScript understands that some variable is a number, and that another variable is a string of text. So you do not have to specify this to JavaScript. So this is what it means when a language is dynamically typed. The opposite of a dynamically typed language is a static type language. In a static type language, you must include the type of data the variable is. An example of this is like a great programming language like C#. But personally, you guys can't beat what we learned throughout our lessons, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So go ahead, always go back and refurbish, go ahead and relearn some of the things that we practically implemented. So here we have a C# static example, integer. So if you guys see that, and then some variable equals 5, string, another variable equals some text in C#. So case sensitive JavaScript is a case sensitive. Let's look at errors that can happen due to the case problems. So variable some text equal this is my variable, console log some text. This error is because some text is not the same as some text. Variable some text, this is my variable, console log some text. This error is because variable is not the same as var. So this is just some kind of smaller JavaScripting right here. So there's gonna be two parts. There's gonna be mutable and immutable. The data stored in the variables can be changed in any type. For example, the following code is valid. So data equals 7, data equals 10, console log data. So when data can be changed, we can say the data is mutable. So constants are created with keyword constant. They're gonna be, the word you guys could tell that, we use constant. So in the philosophy, what is a constant? It's always gonna stay the same, and are different from a variable that's once their values are assigned. The values cannot be changed. So you will want to create a constant when you need some data to never change in the script. So, and you want to protect it as accidentally being changed. When data cannot be changed, it's called immutable. So there's data types. Every variable and constant has a data type. The basic data types in JS are numbers, any number including 0 to -1, and some of the floats, which is called 5.25. Anytime you have a decimal Stay aware that this is a number you should carefully review about. So here in JS, even a date like here, you guys have a simple date that's date back to 1980 is a number. So here we also talk about data types as a string, that which is our text. Anytime you talk about what's a string, you refer to a text. And then we talk about Boolean. Booleans is kind of a logical algorithm. So when we talk about Boolean, it's either true or false. And in computer terms, 0 or 1s. 0 defining 0, which is false. 1 is true. So, and then we have undefined, such as like 15 divided by 0. There's no such thing as that number. So it's a number that we wouldn't really consider a number, but it's still a data type. So undefined is a slightly tricky number. Undefined is a variable, means that the variable has been created but no value has been assigned. Therefore, no value is assigned. So JS cannot tell if it's a number, string, or true or false, or simply undefined. In JavaScript, undefined is slightly different from a null. A null value is an empty value or a nothing value. In JavaScript, a value can be assigned a null value. However, by assigning it null, it's no longer undefined. The value has been assigned even if its value is nothing. So we also use strict. The first line of your JavaScript should always begin with the use of strict. So here, you go ahead, just as a doc type, we use strict. This turns off the certain odd behaviors of JavaScript on modern JavaScript. So use strict will help prevent bugs. Important key factor. We always keep away from bugs in your code. So the only time you would not include this is when working with very old JavaScripts. However, you must remember to start the script with it. So semicolon or no semicolon. For everybody out there inside the computer programming field, we all use semicolon just because it tells that every code that you write, you end it off, and it breaks down to a new line of code. So JavaScript requires a semicolon at the end of the line statement. However, JavaScript can be forgiving, and you guys don't have to add a semicolon, but professionally you would want to add a semicolon due to the fact that you're not only going to be coding in JavaScript, you're also going to be coding in other type of languages. That's what it means to be a full stack developer. So here, this is going to be a quick, simple template. So here you're going to use strict. First thing, so this is definitely a great control right here. And then here, let's break it down. Variable sum number equals 10. You know that you're going to have this declare as 10, and sum text equals 15. Same thing. So here the key terms are, there's a lot of key terms that you guys want to remember, which is variable, let, constant, mutable, immutable, static type, dynamic type, undefined, null, string, boolean, and data type. And some of you guys probably want to remember some of these key terms because it will happen on your final exam. So there, that's gonna be a 7.1. Let's go jump on 7.2. So here we talk about the lab, JavaScript variables. So here in this lab, we'll practice basic JS statements. Write the following statements in a new JS file. Your code should run error-free. So number 1, turn on a modern JavaScript by adding the use strict of your script. Number 2, create a variable called first number and assign it to the value of 5. Number 3, create a variable called first string and assign it to the value of hello.js. Number 4, create a variable called the second number and assign it to the value of 10. Number 5, use a print console to print the first number plus the second number. Number 6, change the value of the first number to 50. Number 7, use the print console again to print the new results in the first number plus the second number. And number 8, create a variable called second string and assign it to the value of this is text. And this is a lot of stuff right here. So this is just going over some of the things. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys on VS Code, rather just talk about it. So here, let's go ahead and minimize that down. Let's go ahead and open up our command, our terminal. Go ahead and change your directory back to your folder. So we're still on full stack development. So let's change it over to our projects. Let's change it over to our lab. And inside our lab, we would have our first thing, which is lab 7.2, right? So let's go ahead and open up our 7.2, which is called array.html. So here, notice kind of notice why it's blank, because we don't know what's the content. So we go ahead and open up our HTML file, and there you go. So I haven't hidden anything, so we know that nothing has been written inside the content, but we do see a source here, and our source points directly to our lab. So our lab is telling us that first thing is first, go ahead and use a strict, and then second, third, and fourth, all the way down, we go ahead and use these simple coding styles. And from there, so as you guys can see, this is the things that you guys would need to so we left off at 9. So number 10, right, create a variable called no value assigned and leave it undefined. So we type the code in, let no value assigned semicolon. So 11, print the value of no assigned to the console. Again, console log no value assigned semicolon. Number 12, create a variable called nothing value and assign it to no. Go back to 12 right here, let nothing value equals no. Number 13, print the value of nothing value to the console. Go ahead and put console.log, parentheses inside is nothing value, semicolon, end it off. Number 14, create a variable called true or false and assign it to the value of true. Go ahead and type in let true or false equals true. 15, print the value of the true or false to the console. Again, console.log true or false, and then the 16, console cannot change the equals me. This is the value. So this is a little bit more about immutable. Console is called cannot change me, and it's set to a value that this value cannot be changed. Go ahead and use that / character and make the JS handle it correctly how it should handle. So when you guys have that all up, right, go ahead and hold Control Shift J. And from there, you guys will pull up your console log, and these will be your output for the program. So here you guys can see, we have a 1560, a hello JS. This is text. We have an undefined variable. We have a no. We have a true. And this is all part of the array HTML, or what we're working with, which was JS variable. Sorry. So let's go ahead and rename this back to JS variables. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this as variables instead of arrays. All right. So we go ahead and delete this part. And so that's part of our 7.2. Let's go ahead and keep moving. So here, let's go ahead and move over to 7.3, which is we're going to talk about JavaScript assignment, comparison, and operators. So assigning a value and comparing two values are used different code symbols. So go ahead and talk about assignments and comparison. Can be tricky for new students, and it's very easy to make a typo by using an assignment where you should use a comparison and vice versa. So assignment operators assign values. We give a value to a variable by using the assignment operators, var equals 5. So here you have a declare variable x and assign it to the value of 5. Variable y equals 5. So here, notice how there's a y plus equals 3, which means declare y and assign it to the value of 5. Y is equal to the current value of y plus 3. Y will be equal to 8. You guys know, drag down 5. Here, here you guys go. What's 5 plus 3? Exactly 8. Remember some of these symbols? Some of these symbols are quite useful to remember. So here you guys have equal symbol equals to the set of value of this, equals plus equals to the current value plus something else, minus equals to the current value minus something else, plus and add, subtract, divide, and notice that this is a star symbol and this is a percentage symbol. These two meaning that this is divide, meaning this is multiply. So get kind of familiar with that. Comparison operators compare two variables. In JavaScript, the comparison operator is double equal. So variable equals 10, set of equal 10. Variable b equals 10, set b equals to 10. If a equal b, console log a is equal to b. So now that right there, you guys will see that that's a conditional. and it's an argument right there inside there, and this is what it's gonna be executing. So symbol uh, double equal is equal to, triple equal is equal to the value in data type. Exclamation equal is not equal to. Kind of be aware of what this is right here, the exclamation mark. The waka sign, is greater than, left sign greater equal, less than and equal to. Very algebra, very, variables that we're talking about here. A quick note on loose comparison. JavaScript gives us two ways to check if things are equal to each other, and the double equal and the triple equal. The best practice is to use the triple equal because it compares the value of the data type. So variable x is equal to 1. That's exactly going to be a number. Variable y is equal to the string. It's inside the quotation is 1. So, and then if x double equals y. So the statement above will evaluate is true because the values are the same. However, x is the number and y is a string. So kind of look closely that this has a quotation and this is exactly a number. And here now we have a triple equal. So the statement above will evaluate as false because there are different data types. So we're talking about casting data type conversion. Often we'll have a text variable that needs to be treated like a number, or a number that needs to be treated like text. We can convert our variable by casting it. Look at the code example below. So here we're going to talk about some of the code inside of here. So here, let's check out the style. Here we are. This is the number. This is a text. This is a result that ends when you go ahead and add these two. And, go ahead and, go through some of these over and try to familiar yourself with it. So here it has a 1, 2, 3. Notice that the result is 25 because you're adding inside. It's giving you that argument, and let's kind of define it a little bit further. So we have a text variable and a number variable. And our first example, we'll try to add them together with no casting. JavaScript returns a 1015 because obviously it's wrong because it cannot add text like its number. In the second example, we'll cast some text as a number and use a number, inside an argument, whatever you guys want. JavaScript collects adds them, and we'll like how we would expect. In the final example, we will want to print a string of text, so we use a string cast to make the number how we be treated like a text. So here, key terms you guys are going to remember are comparison and assignment. And make sure you guys remember that because that will be on your final exam. Go ahead and open this additional resources and let's check out what we're looking at. So here are two type of resources that we're going to be looking at are JavaScript operators and type conversions. So here, go ahead and check out, there's data types, there's a string, number, Boolean, object, function, and there's going to be 6 types of objects, date, array, string, number, and Boolean, and there's going to be 2 data types, null and define. So a type of operator, you could use a type of, you could use many type of data types, nan, array, date, null, undefined variable. So that's just going to be a little bit about type conversions. And here we're going to talk about operators here. Operators, the assignment operator equals assign a variable to variable, addition operator plus adds a number, and things like that. So these are kind of like more into the advanced algebra terms. So that's going to be our 7.3. Let's go over to 7.4, arrays. So JavaScript arrays. Arrays are a list or a bucket or folder of many variables. Arrays can be pretty difficult for a new student to understand. So think about an array. It's very important thing to understand due to the fact that we're gonna be seeing it a lot. In the top, big companies, call it Untitled. Like Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google. So here we're going to see that variable number 1 is equal to 1 down to all the way 6. We'll do that by creating an array. So here you guys have an array. Go ahead and you guys would know that your array starts off first at a 0 and it ends up to whatever numbers it's indexing. So here each number is an item in the array and each item has an index value. We can access each item in the array by specifying its index. So notice in the example above, when we access my list 4 and we get a value of 5, this is because the array index starts at 0. So It holds the first memory or register that you guys will see, and then which is the case that 0 is pertaining to 1. So a little confusing if I said this right here is 100, and then I want to look for the first array. It's gonna go ahead and get the 100, but it starts at 0. So that's going to be almost on every type of foundation that you guys apply yourself in the computer science field. So the value of 101, you guys could kind of go ahead and kind of get a mental image of here. You guys will see that, here's another great array. And then there's a execution, print, console log. Go ahead and console log the first one, which is 101, and then 99, 3. And I'm gonna guess that this is a 0 because this is the last one at 9. So that's what I have correctly. 101, 99, and therefore we go ahead and start our next mental array with the final. Every array you guys gonna see. So here, this is talking about my list.length. So what's the length of this? So this just talking about how many memory or slots that's pertained into this array. So every array equals to the number of items it contains. This array holds 10 items, so its length is 10. The final index of this is 9 because the first index starts at 0, right? So here is 10. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is gonna be 10, right? So that's why it prints out the list of 10. So in most other language, we will get an error if we try to access an index in an array that does not exist. Calling an index of an array that does not exist is called out in a bounds of error. Now be careful when you guys are calling things out of bounds of error, because that could become as a fault. However, in JavaScript, we're allowed to resize any array. If we want to make the array larger or smaller, we can do it as shown below. In most other language, once an array is created, its size cannot be changed. But this is not true in JS. Accessing an array index that has been created simply returns undefined. So here, quick mental note of coding style. And here, key terms you guys want to remember is go ahead and remember array, index, 0 index, length, bounds, out of bounds errors, and lesson files that I want you guys to download is array.js. If you guys want to look at great resources, to go ahead and check out W3 Schools, and this is going to be about functions, the JavaScript functions. So here it just tells you guys, functions. A JavaScript function is a block of code designed to perform a particular task. JavaScript function is executing when something invokes it, calls it. So here it just gives you guys a little bit more of a foundation of what's a function. You guys have function arguments and the values received by the function when it's invoked, invocations, return, why functions. So function is very popular, and then you're gonna have some of your local variables and things of that nature. So that's gonna be your 7.4. Now, right when you guys get to your lab, go ahead and start your JavaScript arrays. So before starting your JavaScript arrays, go ahead and review this website called javascript.info. And here you guys will have, I think this is the JavaScript webpage right here. So, you guys can start the tutorial, learn a lot about data types, decorations, method, push, pop, shift. So here we're talking about the decorations. The push, pop, shift. This is a very this is a type of a very advanced type of technique that you guys, I feel like if you have a lot of knowledge, you have a lot of experience in this type of field, you would know what we're talking about. But since we're kind of just starting this JavaScript lesson, don't worry about it. I don't expect you guys to actually learn all this. Just kind of just figure out and get an idea of what's going on. So here, let's look at this picture right here, a mental picture of what a push, pop, or shift is. So kind of notice that when you unshift, everything's moves a line, but when you push, it goes backwards and shifts. So what am I talking about? So here's a great example. So notice that let's go see if we could actually pull up a good example from a mental image. So see, kind of notice that we have a length of 4, but 0, 1, 2, 3. Notice 3 is gone due to the fact that we went ahead and clear this pop, and we use pop. So we took one element from the end. So pop meaning we took the 3 off, and then you could actually go ahead and put fill it into the first in, last out, and you can actually go ahead and push back all the way to this part and make your lemon a 0 again. So it's kind of like a little algorithm here that you're gonna be working with. So that's a 7.4. Go ahead and practice your arrays for a task below. Print the results in the console. So I want you guys to create this animals: lion, tiger, zebra, donkey, catfish. Go ahead and make a list about tigers. Create an array called numbers. The array will have these values in it. Go ahead and make these numbers. Number 3, create a variable called my tiger and assign it to a tiger value from the animal array. Number 4, create a variable named called meaning of life, assign it to the value 42 from the numbers array. Number 5, create an array called mixed data and assign it to these values. Go ahead, create these type of mixed data and assign the values. Go ahead. Number 6, add the value of cobra to the animals array. Create a new value in the mixed data and array and assign it to the donkey value. And from the animal array, go ahead and use the animals pop method and log the results. Use the push method for the shark into animals. Number 10, create a variable called myLine and assign it to the result of the animal shift. Log the results and put the line back to the array and use the animal unshift. So there, we just talked a little bit more about 7.4. Let's go ahead and end it off with our JavaScript with JS loops. The fundamentals of do something, rinse and repeat. So sometimes you guys would want to know what is a loop, something like a circle. Sometimes we want to use the same block of code to repeat. Loops allow us to write lines of code that will immediately runs again as soon as the ends reach. Code outside of the loop will not be processed until the loop is finished. So JavaScript gives us 2 ways to perform loops: for loops and the while loop. So very 2 popular loops right here. The while loop will continue to repeat while condition we provide is true. At the end of the loop, the condition is checked. If the condition is still true, the loop starts again. If the condition is no longer true, the loop exit. Example of this condition is while this variable called x is less than 10. So here you guys will see that while we're figuring out x is less than 10, be careful when we write loops, as it's possibly creating a condition. When it's always true, the script will be stuck in a loop and no way out. Eventually, the web browser might crash or stop responding. Here's an endless loop, and there's no way to inside the loop to make our condition no longer true. So here, this is a great way to have a forever loop, or a loop that just goes over and over and over again. So here's a loop with a valid exit condition. Each time the loops runs, the value of variables I is increased by 1. So eventually it will be greater than 10 and the loop will stop. So here we will see that there's an example I++, meaning it's incrementing or increasing by whatever value you want it to be, which is in this case for 1. And you guys could mess around with that operator right there. So here it's just saying, go ahead and run all the way to 10 and then exit. So here it's incremented 1 time again, run 1 time again, 1 time again, 1 time again, 1 time again, until you guys see that it ran 9 times. And 10 right here, meaning it's done. And now you got the for loop. The for loop will repeat each item in the group of items. In this example, we'll create an array and then run a loop for each item in our array. So what am I talking about this? So take a look at this loop tutorial for W3s and see more example of loops. So here is some of the loops here, the for loops. So example is here. If you guys run this part, it's talking about for I is equal to 0 I less than car length I++ until you guys reach to this part. So it's just go ahead and execute the car array. So here you guys have all your car array. Now if it's not true, then it wouldn't work because it's still trying to execute in the program. All right, so now let's have a different, example. You guys could go through this and look a little bit more in depth with it. So, and this is another loop right here, which is the while loop. You have your while loop. Here it says I to 10. Go ahead and do it. Count to 10. Boom, 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 boom. Exit off once you guys count to 10. That's a while loop. We just kind of went over real briefly. And then in this lab, I want you guys to create JavaScript loops, reveal loops on javascript.info, where before beginning the site, before creating your website or creating your app. So here, this is the while loop. There's a do. There's a for. So there's different ways to make a loop. And practice loop by creating the following loops. Create number 1. I want you guys to create a for loop that counts down from 10. For each pass of the loop, print to the console countdown and the current value of the countdown. Number 2, go ahead and create a for loop that counts up to 10. For each pass of the loop, print the console how many times the loop has been ran. Number 3, create a while loop that execute while the variable called the loop counter is less than 99. So 2 bullets right here that I want you guys to remember is the loop will increase the loop counter by 1 each time. The loop will print the value of the loop counter each time it runs. So that's going to be it for lesson 7.5. And that's it. That we're going over our whole our foundation on JavaScript. So I wish you guys the best of luck on what's going on, and continue to be safe, use common sense, and go ahead and start creating your coding style. Later.